The space station hung like a silver jewel against the red glow of Proxima Centauri b. Inside, First Lieutenant Ethan Wright adjusted his dress uniform one last time. Today, humanity would make history by establishing formal relations with the Vorzak, the first advanced alien species they had encountered. Ready, Lieutenant? Dr. Lily Carter appeared at his side, her medical insignia gleaming on her collar. Her dark hair was pulled back tightly, revealing the focused expression of someone who had spent years preparing for this moment. As ready as I'll ever be to meet aliens who probably think we're primitive monkeys, Ethan replied with a half-smile. Staff Sergeant Mills, status report. Alan Mills checked his tablet. Security perimeter is secure, sir. Corporal Ross and Private Simmons are at their stations. The Vorzak shuttle is docking now. The diplomatic team gathered in the reception area. Though this was a peaceful mission, Ethan couldn't help noting defensive positions out of habit. 5 years in the Colonial Defense Force had taught him to always be prepared. The airlock hissed open. 3 tall, slender figures entered. The Vorzak stood nearly 7 feet tall with smooth, pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer under the station lights. Their 4-fingered hands moved with precise grace, and their large oval eyes blinked slowly as they surveyed the humans. "Welcome to Proxima Station," said the human ambassador. "We are honored by your presence." The lead Vorzak stepped forward. "I am High Emissary Krevtal. We come seeking knowledge and peace." Its voice had an odd musical quality, translated through the computer system. The initial greetings went smoothly. Dr. Carter was particularly eager to meet with the Vorzak medical officers. "I'm hoping we can establish protocols for medical information exchange," she told Javak, the chief medical officer of the Vorzak delegation. "Your biology is fascinating," Javak replied, blinking its large eyes. "So many redundant systems. So much inefficiency." Lily smiled politely, though Ethan noticed her stiffen slightly at the implied criticism. "Our adaptability has served us well," she responded. The meeting continued into its second hour when one of the Vorzak assistants approached Javak, speaking rapidly in their native language. The translator struggled to keep up, but Ethan caught words like contamination and biological hazard. Javak suddenly backed away from the humans. "You carry millions of microorganisms on and within your bodies," it said, voice rising. "This is unexpected and concerning." "Our microbiome is natural," Lily explained quickly. "Beneficial bacteria are part of our health. They pose no threat to you." But more Vorzak were backing away now, speaking urgently to each other. Ethan felt the situation slipping away. "We should adjourn briefly while we discuss this development," the human ambassador suggested. "Yes," agreed Krevtal, though Ethan noticed its posture had changed. "We must consult." As the Vorzak delegation retreated to their side of the station, Ethan pulled Lily aside. "What just happened?" "I think they're genuinely shocked by our microbiome," she whispered. "Their biology must be fundamentally different." Before they could discuss further, alarms blared throughout the station. A mechanical voice announced, "Warning, unauthorized weapons discharge detected in Section 7. "That's the Vorzak section," Alan said, unholstering his sidearm. Ethan's communication device activated. "Lieutenant, we've got hostiles." It was Megan, Ross's voice tight with tension. "A separate Vorzak ship just docked. They're not part of the diplomatic team." "Defensive positions," Ethan ordered. "Dr. Carter, stay with me." The station shuddered as an explosion rocked the lower level. Through the comm system, they heard unfamiliar Vorzak voices. "The humans are biological contaminants. They must not be allowed to spread through our systems." "It's a radical faction," gasped one of the human translators. "They're saying we're a disease." Another explosion hit, closer this time. The lights flickered and emergency systems activated. "The station's primary supports are damaged," Alan reported grimly. "Structural integrity failing." Ethan made a split-second decision. "Everyone to the escape pods, now." They raced through, corridors filling with smoke. Another blast knocked them sideways. Lily helped Private Derek Simmons to his feet after he slammed into a wall. As they reached the escape pod bay, they found 3 Vorzak, Javak, and 2 medical assistants, already there. "Your people attacked us," Megan shouted, raising her weapon. "Not our people," Javak replied. "Extremists. They believe you will contaminate us." A final explosion, larger than the others, rocked the station. Warning lights flashed everywhere. No time to argue, Ethan decided. "Everyone in. We're leaving." The escape pod launched just as the station's central section collapsed. Through the viewport, they watched pieces of the diplomatic mission scatter into space. Below them, the reddish surface of Proxima Centauri b grew larger as they descended. "Brace for impact," Ethan called out. "This is going to be rough." The escape pod slammed into the surface of Proxima Centauri b with enough force to knock everyone inside against their restraints. When the motion finally stopped, the pod lay tilted at an angle, half buried in reddish soil. Warning lights blinked on damaged control panels. Ethan Wright was the first to recover. Blood trickled from a cut above his eye, but he ignored it as he checked on his team. "Sound off. Everyone okay?" "Alive," groaned Alan Mills, rubbing his shoulder. "Think I'm bruised, not broken." "I'm good, sir," Megan Ross reported, already unstrapping herself. Derek Simmons gave a thumbs up from his seat, though his face had gone pale. "Lily," Ethan called, spotting the doctor slumped in her restraints. She raised her head slowly. "I'm here. Just give me a minute." On the other side of the pod, the 3 Vorzak medical officers were moving with careful, pained motions. Their blue skin had taken on a grayish tint that Ethan guessed wasn't a good sign. "We must exit," said Javak, the chief medical officer. "The pod's power cells are damaged. They will release toxins soon." Ethan didn't argue. "Mills, get the emergency packs. Ross, check the external scanner. Simmons, help me with the hatch." The escape pod door required manual operation with the power failing. Ethan and Derek strained against the lever until it gave way with a groan of metal. Fresh air rushed in, breathable according to their equipment but carrying strange, spicy scents unlike anything on Earth. They climbed out into an alien landscape. Red-orange soil stretched toward a horizon dotted with strange, bulbous plants. The sky above was a deep purple, with Proxima Centauri hanging low and massive, bathing everything in rusty light. 2 moons were visible even in daylight. "Beautiful," whispered Lily, climbing out last. "Terrifying, but beautiful." "The atmosphere is safe for both our species," said one of the Vorzak assistants, Kelnor, the youngest of the 3. "But the radiation levels are higher than optimal." Ethan surveyed their situation with a soldier's eye. The pod had created a deep furrow in the ground when it landed. Around them, the landscape offered little cover, some rocky outcroppings to the east and what looked like dense vegetation about a mile to the north. "Any luck with communications?" he asked Megan, who was checking their equipment. "Short range only," she replied. "Long-range antenna was destroyed in the crash. I can't reach orbit." Alan Mills approached, carrying emergency packs. 6 days of rations for us, water purifiers, basic medical supplies, 2 pulse rifles and sidearms. "Will your people look for you?" Javak asked. The alien's voice sounded strained, and Ethan noticed it was leaning heavily on its assistant Tirval. "Yes," Ethan confirmed. "Standard rescue protocol is to begin search operations immediately, but without our beacon." 7 to 10 of your Earth days, Lily finished for him. "That's the standard search window." The Vorzak medical team exchanged looks that needed no translation. Concern, possibly fear. "We should move away from the pod," Tirval suggested. "The crash will attract attention." "What kind of attention?" Derek asked, hand moving to his weapon. "This planet has indigenous life," Javak explained. "Some of it predatory. The Vorzak exploratory missions documented several large carnivorous species. As if to emphasize the point, a distant howling sound echoed across the landscape. A long, undulating call that was answered by similar cries from different directions. "That settles it," Ethan decided. "We head for those rocks. Better defensive position. Grab everything useful from the pod." The unlikely group salvaged what they Could medical supplies, rations, tools, and weapons. Within 30 minutes, they were hiking across the alien terrain toward the rocky outcropping. Ethan noticed the Vorzak were struggling with the hike. Their tall, slender bodies seemed poorly suited for the uneven ground. Without comment, he slowed the pace. At the rear of the group, Lily walked alongside Javak, asking quiet questions about Vorzak biology. The alien doctor seemed equally curious about humans. "You bleed so easily," Javak observed, gesturing to the cut above Ethan's eye. "Yet you ignore it. Why?" "Small injuries aren't worth attention," Lily explained. "Our bodies handle minor damage, automatically." "Fascinating," Javak murmured, "and concerning." As they reached the rocks, the howling sounds came again, closer this time. Everyone moved faster. "Those don't sound friendly," Alan said, checking his rifle. "They're not," replied Kel Nor, looking nervously at the horizon. "And night falls quickly on this world." Night fell quickly on Proxima Centauri b. The rocky outcropping that Ethan had chosen became their fortress. They arranged the largest boulders in a rough circle, creating a natural wall around a clear space about 20 feet across. Alan and Derek gathered strange woody plants that burned with a blue-green flame when lit. "Not the coziest campsite I've had," Alan remarked as they huddled around the alien fire. "But not the worst either." The three Vorzak sat together on the opposite side of the flames. They had barely spoken since making camp, but Ethan noticed they were constantly watching the humans, especially when they thought no one was looking. "They're studying us," Lily whispered to Ethan as she cleaned the cut above his eye with an antiseptic wipe. "Like we're lab specimens." "We're probably the first humans they've seen up close for more than a few minutes," Ethan replied. Javak rose gracefully and approached them. "May I join you?" the alien doctor asked. Ethan nodded. "Of course." The Vorzak settled beside them, movements careful and precise. "Your wound," it said, gesturing to Ethan's forehead. "It is already clotting." "That's what blood does," Lily explained. "For humans, yes. Vorzak physiology is different. We have sealant cells that close injuries completely within moments, but we lack your redundancy." "What do you mean?" Lily asked, her scientific curiosity engaged. "Your bodies are inefficient but remarkably durable. Multiple systems, backup organs, regenerative tissues. We evolved differently. Perfect efficiency, minimal waste, but little redundancy." From the darkness beyond their camp came the howling sounds again, much closer now. Everyone tensed. Megan and Derek readied their weapons. "Will they attack?" Ethan asked. Javak's large eyes blinked slowly. "Eventually. They are curious but cautious. They will test our defenses first." As if on cue, a low growl came from just beyond the firelight. Ethan caught a glimpse of movement, something low to the ground, muscular, with multiple limbs. "Nobody shoot unless they charge," Ethan ordered quietly. "Save ammunition." For the next hour, the creatures circled their camp, growling and calling to each other. Occasionally, one would dart forward into the light, revealing six-legged predators with armored skin and multiple eyes before retreating again. "They're testing us," Alan said, gripped tight on his rifle. "Just like Javak said they would," Lily added. Finally, one of the creatures made a full charge into the camp. It moved with surprising speed, heading straight for Kelnor, the youngest. Vorzak Derek fired his rifle. The pulse shot caught the creature in mid-leap, sending it tumbling backward with a shriek. Two more immediately rushed in from different directions. Alan dropped one with a clean shot. Megan missed her target, and the creature landed on Ethan, knocking him to the ground. Its multiple jaws snapped inches from his face as he held it back, with his forearm against its throat. He drew his knife with his free hand and drove it deep into the creature's side. It screamed and thrashed before going limp. The attack ended as quickly as it began. The remaining creatures retreated, carrying their wounded with them. "Everyone okay?" Ethan asked, pushing the dead predator off him. His arm was covered in its dark purple blood. "We are unharmed," Javak said, though all three Vorzak looked shaken. You killed it with a blade." "Had to," Ethan said simply, cleaning his knife in the dirt. The Vorzak medical team watched with undisguised fascination as the humans checked each other for injuries and reset their defenses. Ethan caught them making notes in their devices. "You fought well," Tirval said later, approaching Derek, who was taking the first watch. "Without hesitation." "That's the job," Derek replied. "Keep your people safe." "But you enjoy the combat?" The Vorzak seemed troubled by the concept. "No one enjoys fighting for their life," Derek said. "But we're good at it. Humans have been fighting things that want to eat us for our entire history." As dawn approached, Javak and Lily sat together comparing notes on their different species. The alien doctor was particularly interested in human wound healing. "Your entire medical approach is built around your body's ability to repair itself," Javak observed. "Ours is built around preventing any damage at all." "What happens when a Vorzak is seriously injured?" Lily asked. Javak's expression darkened. "We die. Our bodies have little capacity for repair. A wound that you would recover from would be fatal to us." "That explains why you're so careful with your movements," Lily realized. "Yes? And why we find your species both fascinating and terrifying." 3 days passed in the rocky shelter. The humans established a routine. 2 people on watch at all times, regular patrols around the perimeter, and careful rationing of their supplies. The Vorzak medical team mostly kept to themselves, though Javak continued to speak with Lily about human biology. On the morning of the 4th day, Alan Mills volunteered to scout the area to the north where they had spotted what looked like a water source. Ethan agreed but insisted he take Derek for backup. "Be back before midday," Ethan told them. "Any sign of trouble, you return immediately." The 2 men nodded and headed out, weapons ready. Ethan watched them go with a sense of unease that he couldn't explain. "You worry for them," observed Javak, who had approached silently. "It's my job to worry," Ethan replied. "I'm responsible for my team." "Yet you sent them anyway, knowing the danger." "We need water. The risk is necessary." The Vorzak nodded slowly. "Humans constantly balance risk and necessity. We Vorzak avoid risk whenever possible." 3 hours later, Ethan's worries proved justified. Megan spotted the returning scouts from her lookout position and called down urgently, "They're coming back fast. Alan's hurt." Ethan ran to meet them. Derek was half carrying Alan, whose right leg was covered in blood. A deep gash ran from his knee almost to his ankle. "Ambush," Derek gasped as they reached the camp. Different predators, smaller but more of them, coming from below ground. They got Alan into the shelter. His face was pale and sweaty. Lily immediately examined the wound while Ethan got the full story from Derek. "We found the water source. It's good, drinkable. But as we were filling the containers, these things erupted from the soil, like worms but with teeth. One got Alan before we could react." The 3 Vorzak had gathered to watch as Lily cleaned Alan's wound. Their expressions showed a mixture of scientific interest and horror. "The laceration is deep," Lily reported. "It needs stitches, antibiotics, and proper cleaning." "What supplies do we have?" Ethan asked. Lily grimaced. "Not enough. The emergency med kit has basic supplies, but nothing for a wound this severe." "Will he survive?" Javak asked bluntly. "Without proper treatment, infection will set in," Lily said, "and on an alien world with unknown bacteria." Alan, despite his pain, spoke up. "Just patch me up. I'll be fine." "It's not that simple," Lily argued. "This wound is already showing signs of infection. The edges are red, there's heat in the tissue." Ethan made a decision. "We need to cauterize it." The word hung in the air. Lily looked at him with wide eyes. The Vorzak seemed confused. "Cauterize?" asked Kelnor. "What does this mean?" "It means using heat to seal the wound," Lily explained, her voice tight. "Burning the flesh to close it and kill bacteria." All 3 Vorzak physically recoiled. Javak stepped forward, hands raised. "This is barbaric. You cannot deliberately cause more damage to an already injured body." Ethan faced the alien doctor steadily. It's either temporary pain or certain death from infection. Those are our only options. There must be alternatives, insisted Tirval. If you have Vorzak medical technology that can help, we'll gladly use it, Ethan said. If not, we do this our way. The Vorzak conferred among themselves in their own language before Javak turned back to Ethan. We have nothing that would help. Our medical approach is not compatible with your biology. Ethan nodded grimly. He took his combat knife and placed it in the blue-green flames of their fire. Lily, prepare him as best you can. Megan, Derek, you'll need to hold him down. Alan nodded his understanding. Just do it. Javak stepped back, watching with a mixture of horror and fascination. The alien took out a small device and discreetly activated it, some kind of recording instrument. Knife began to glow red in the flames. Ethan removed it carefully and turned to Alan. Ready? Alan gripped a piece of leather between his teeth and nodded. Ethan pressed the hot blade against the infected wound. Alan's scream, though muffled, echoed through the camp. The smell of burning flesh filled the air. The Vorzak turned away, unable to watch. But Javak's recording device remained active, capturing everything. That night after the cauterization, Tirval approached Lily as she checked on Alan. The human soldier slept fitfully, his leg bandaged with strips torn from spare clothing. He should be dead, Tirval said quietly. A Vorzak would not survive such trauma. Humans are tough, Lily replied. We evolved on a dangerous planet. Our bodies adapted to survive injuries. And the pain? How does he endure it? Pain is just information, Lily explained. It tells us something is wrong, but we can ignore it when necessary. The alien stared at Alan with something like wonder. Fascinating and terrifying, it whispered. At dawn, Javak called the humans and Vorzak together. The chief medical officer had been using a small device throughout the night. I have been monitoring the surrounding area, Javak explained. There is concerning news. A large migration of predators is moving in this direction. Javak projected a holographic map from the device. It showed the terrain around them with dozens of red dots moving steadily toward their position. What's drawing them? Ethan asked. Us, replied Kelnor. The energy signatures from our technology, the heat, the unusual scents. Ethan studied the map with a soldier's eye. How many? At least 50 of the larger apex predators, Javak said. And countless smaller ones. When will they reach us? 3 days, perhaps 4. Derek glanced at Alan, who was awake but clearly in no condition to travel. We can't move quickly with wounded. And we can't fight that many, Megan added. Ethan made a decision. We fortify. Use the remaining days to prepare defenses. The unlikely alliance worked together with new purpose. The humans planned the defenses while the Vorzak, with their advanced technical knowledge, helped improve their effectiveness. They dug trenches around the perimeter and filled them with sharpened stakes. The Vorzak modified the remaining power, cells from the escape pod, to create small energy barriers at key approach points. Derek used parts from their damaged communications equipment to build simple alarm triggers. Impressive ingenuity, Javak commented, watching Ethan reinforce. A weak point in their wall. Your species adapts quickly. We've had lots of practice, Ethan replied, driving a stake into the ground. Humans have been fighting against the odds since we first walked upright. Is that why you fight so effectively? Practice? Partly. But it's also instinct. When threatened, humans don't just flee. We fight. Javak seemed troubled. Vorzak flee from danger whenever possible. Our bodies cannot withstand damage. Different evolutionary paths, Ethan said. Neither better nor worse, just different. By the third day, Alan was on his feet again. His face was pale and he needed a makeshift crutch, but he insisted on helping with the defenses. You should be resting, Lily told him. Can't rest when everyone else is working, Alan replied. Besides, I'm tired of lying around. Javak observed this exchange with clear amazement. The cauterization worked. Despite the trauma, the infection, is receding. Told you it would, Alan said with a tight smile. That evening, as they ate their carefully rationed food, Ethan noticed the alien doctors speaking intently among themselves, occasionally looking at the humans. Finally, Javak approached him. "We have been wrong about your species," the alien said. "When we first met, we saw your biology as primitive, inefficient. But now we understand. What appears as inefficiency is actually resilience." Before Ethan could respond, one of the alarm triggers activated with a shrill beep. Everyone tensed. "They're early," Derek said, grabbing his weapon. From beyond their fortifications came growls and howls, dozens of them from all directions. "Defensive positions," Ethan ordered. "Conserve ammunition. Pick your targets." As the humans moved to their designated spots, Ethan saw Javak watching them. The alien's expression was unreadable, but there was a new respect in those large eyes. Megan, on lookout at the highest point of their rocky shelter, called down urgently. "They're coming. At least 30 of the big ones from the north and east, more following behind." Ethan checked his rifle and took his position beside Alan, who had insisted on taking a defensive post despite his injury. "Ready?" Ethan asked. Alan adjusted his grip on his weapon. "Born ready, sir." The night filled with the sounds of approaching predators. The first wave hit their defenses like a storm. For 3 days and nights, the battle raged around their small fortress. The predators came in waves, testing the defenses from different angles. The humans fought with practiced skill, conserving ammunition and energy. Alan, despite his injured leg, proved to be a deadly accurate shot from his position. By the 4th morning, everyone was exhausted. The energy barriers created by the Vorzak had failed during the night. 2 of their defensive walls had been breached and hastily repaired. Ammunition was running low. "Status report," Ethan said. His voice was rough from shouting orders and lack of sleep. 8 rounds left for my rifle," Megan reported. 3 for my sidearm. 5 rounds, Derek added, plus my knife. Alan checked his weapon. 4 rounds, but I'm making them count. The Vorzak had stayed back from the fighting, as agreed. Their fragile bodies made them poor fighters, but their technical skills had saved the group more than once. Javak had rigged an early warning system that gave them precious seconds of preparation before each attack. "The predators are learning," Javak observed. "They coordinate their attacks better now." "They're also getting desperate," Ethan said. "Food must be scarce in this area." Lily, who had been tending to minor wounds on both humans and Vorzak, looked up sharply. "And we look like a feast." As they spoke, Kelnor was working on one of their damaged devices near the northern edge of their shelter. Without warning, AI creature, one of the smaller burrowing predators, erupted from the ground directly beneath the Vorzak. Its needle-like teeth sank into Kelnor's arm before anyone could react. Kelnor's scream was unlike anything the humans had heard. High-pitched, and filled with a despair that went beyond pain. Derek was closest. He fired his rifle, killing the creature instantly, but the damage was done. The Vorzak clutched his wounded arm, which was already turning a sickly gray color. Blue fluid, Vorzak blood, pulsed from the wound. "Help him," Javak cried, rushing to Kelnor's side. Lily hurried over with the medical kit, but it was clear from Javak's expression that the situation was dire. "The cellular degradation has begun," Javak explained, voice shaking. "Once damaged, our tissues fail." "There must be something we can do," Lily insisted. Javak looked at her with eyes full of resignation. "For a Vorzak, such a wound is fatal. Our medical technology could save him, but here." The humans exchanged grim looks. They had seen enough death to recognize its approach. Alan, using his makeshift crutch, moved closer to the injured alien. "Your people don't fight much, do you?" he asked Kelnor. The Vorzak looked up, pain evident in his large eyes. "No. We avoid conflict. Our bodies cannot withstand it." "But your minds are amazing," Alan said. "The things you've helped us build these past days, we couldn't have survived without them." More howls sounded from beyond their walls. The predators had sensed the injury and were gathering for another attack. They smell blood, Derek warned, checking his remaining ammunition. Ethan made a quick decision. New plan. We use what ammo we have left to create a gap. Then we make a run for the water source. There are caves there. We might be able to defend. Better. He looked at Kelnor. Can you travel? Before Javak could answer, a massive thud shook their shelter. One of the largest predators they had seen, nearly the size of an earth tiger but with 6 limbs and armored scales, had hurled itself against their weakest wall. The barrier cracked but held. Another impact followed and another. The wall began to splinter. They're breaking through, Megan shouted, aiming her rifle. The wall collapsed inward. 3 enormous predators charged through the gap, with more visible. Behind them, Megan fired, dropping the lead creature. Derek got the second. The third leaped directly at Tirval, who stood frozen in terror. Alan, despite his injured leg, threw himself forward. He tackled the predator in midair, tumbling to the ground with it. They rolled in the dirt, the creature's claws slashing. Alan's shout of pain told everyone he'd been hit. Derek rushed to help, driving his knife into the predator's eye. It thrashed. Once more, then went still. Alan lay on his back, blood soaking through his shirt from deep gashes across his chest and shoulder. His cauterized leg wound had reopened. Lily rushed to Alan's side. Blood soaked through his uniform from the deep claw marks across his chest. His breathing came in short, painful gasps. Hold still, she ordered, cutting away the torn fabric. The wounds were deep, but had missed his vital organs. His leg, however, was another matter. The cauterized gash had reopened and fresh blood flowed freely. More predators pushed through the gap in their defenses. Ethan and Megan fought to hold them back, but they were running dangerously low on ammunition. We need to fall back, Ethan shouted over the chaos. Derek helped Lily drag Alan to the relative safety of the innermost part of their shelter. The Vorzak followed, Javak and Tirval supporting the injured Kelnor between them. How bad is it? Derek asked, glancing at Alan. Bad, Lily replied grimly. He needs proper medical care. The chest wounds I might be able to handle, but the leg... She shook her head. Alan, despite his pain, remained conscious. Just patch me up. We need every fighter. You can't fight like this, Lily argued. Watch me, Alan said through gritted teeth. Javak moved closer, its large eyes taking in the extent of Alan's injuries. Your species' determination is remarkable, but there are limits to what even human physiology can endure. Do what you can, Alan told Lily, then get me back on my feet. The sounds of battle grew louder. Ethan and Megan were being driven back step by step. We're out of options, Derek said. If we stay, we die. Alan looked at his wounded leg, then at the heated knife that Lily had prepared for treating his chest wounds. His expression hardened with decision. Do it again, he said. Burn it closed, both wounds. Even Lily hesitated. Alan, the pain would be... I know exactly what it feels like, he interrupted. Do it anyway. Javak watched this exchange with growing amazement. You would deliberately subject yourself to such trauma twice? If it keeps me in the fight? Yes. The alien doctor looked at its injured companion, then back at Alan. I do not understand how you can function through such pain. Pain is temporary, Alan said. Death is permanent. Lily nodded reluctantly and prepared the knife. This will be quick. As before, Alan bit down on a strip of leather. The smell of burning flesh filled the air as Lily sealed the reopened leg wound. Alan's muffled scream made the Vorzak physically recoil. Then came the chest wounds one by one. When it was done, Alan lay gasping, his face covered in sweat. But, remarkably, he pushed himself up on his elbows. Give me a minute, he managed to say. Javak approached cautiously and knelt beside him. I have observed your species for days now. I have recorded your biological responses, your remarkable adaptations. But this... The alien gestured to Alan's freshly cauterized wounds. This defies all medical logic. Not logic, Alan said. Will. A Crash from the outer perimeter told them the defenses were failing completely. Ethan backed into view, firing his last rounds. "They're through! Everyone, prepare to move!" Alan struggled to his feet, accepting his rifle from Derek. His face was pale and drawn with pain, but his hands were steady. Kelnor, the injured Vorzak, watched him with undisguised wonder. "How can you stand? How can you fight?" "Don't have much choice," Alan replied. Tirval, who had remained silent throughout, suddenly stepped forward. "I wish to help fight." Everyone stared at the alien in surprise. "Your biology is not suited for combat," Ethan said carefully. "I have been observing, learning." Tirval picked up a makeshift spear that Derek had crafted. "I may be physically weaker, but I can still be useful." Javak looked shocked. "Tirval, what you propose is dangerous beyond reason. These humans fight despite their pain, despite injuries that would kill any Vorzak instantly. I can at least try to do the same." Javak seemed about to argue further, but the sounds of approaching predators cut the conversation short. "Everyone ready to move on my signal," Ethan ordered. "We head for the caves by the water source and stay together." Alan checked his weapon one last time. The pain from his fresh cauterizations was intense, but his mind remained clear, focused on survival. "Ready," he confirmed. Beside him, Javak watched with an expression of growing respect and dawning understanding. "The battle fury," the alien doctor murmured. "Your species truly is extraordinary." Dawn broke on Proxima Centauri b with unusual brightness. The red sun seemed larger on the horizon, casting long shadows across the battlefield around the shattered remains of the human Vorzak shelter. The night had been the most desperate yet. The small group had fought their way toward the caves, but became separated in the chaos. Alan, Derek, and Tirval had been cut off from the others and forced to make a stand among a cluster of boulders. They had fought through the night, the human soldiers teaching the Vorzak basic combat techniques as they went. Alan's cauterized wounds had held, though the pain never lessened. His movements were stiff but determined, each shot from his nearly empty weapon finding its mark. As the first light touched the landscape, they heard it, the unmistakable sound of engines. "Human engines. Listen," Derek said, raising his head. "That's a Colonial Defense Force dropship." The sound grew louder. From their position they could see Ethan, Megan, Lily, and the two other Vorzak emerging from their hiding place, waving frantically at the sky. A massive shadow passed overhead. The dropship was bigger than standard rescue craft, a military vessel, armed and ready for combat. It hovered briefly, then settled on a flat stretch of ground. Its weapon systems immediately targeted and fired upon approaching predators, scattering them with precise energy blasts. "Let's move," Alan said, pushing himself to his feet with visible effort. Derek supported him on one side, Tirval on the other. Together, they made their way toward the ship. Halfway there, they reunited with the rest of their group. "I knew you'd make it," Ethan said, clasping Alan's shoulder carefully to avoid his wounds. The ship's ramp lowered, and armed soldiers in Colonial Defense Force uniforms rushed out, forming a defensive perimeter. A woman with captain's insignia approached. "Captain Grace Porter, CDF Special Rescue Division," she introduced herself. "We've been searching for you since the station was destroyed." Her eyes widened slightly, seeing the Vorzak. "I see you've made unusual friends." "It's a long story," Ethan replied. "These Vorzak are allies. They helped us survive." The captain nodded. "Get everyone aboard. We'll sort out the diplomatic situations once you're all safe." Inside the ship, the humans were reunited with their own medical technology. Lily worked alongside the ship's doctor to treat Alan's wounds properly. The Vorzak watched with continued fascination. "Your primitive methods worked," Javak observed, examining the cauterized wounds that were now being cleaned and treated with advanced medical equipment. "Crude, painful, but effective. Sometimes the old ways still have value," Lily replied. 2 days later, aboard the human vessel USS Horizon, Javak stood before a communication screen. On it were the faces of the Vorzak High Command, their large eyes blinking in synchronization as they processed Javok's report. The humans are not the biological threat we feared, Javok explained. Their resilience is not a danger but a different evolutionary path. They endure what would kill us, yes, but this same determination makes them extraordinarily adaptive. Javok transmitted the recordings taken during their time on the planet. Humans fighting despite injuries, cauterizing wounds, returning to battle when any Vorzak would have died. I recommend a full medical exchange program, Javok concluded. There is much we can learn from each other. In the medical bay, Alan sat on the edge of his bed. His wounds were healing well with proper treatment. Ethan, Megan, and Derek visited him regularly, as did the Vorzak. The captain says we'll reach Earth in 3 weeks, Ethan told him. You're being recommended for the Colonial Cross. Alan shrugged. Just did what anyone would do. Not anyone, said Tyrval, who had entered, quietly. What you humans did, what you endured, no Vorzak could have survived. We're different species, Alan said simply. Different strengths. Tyrval nodded. My people have begun studying your medical techniques. What seemed barbaric to us before, we now recognize as necessary adaptation. And our people, Lily added, joining them, have been granted access to Vorzak regenerative medicine. Someday wounds like yours might heal without scars. From the doorway, Javok watched the humans and Vorzak talking easily together. The alien doctor had spent a lifetime studying biology across hundreds of worlds, but never had Javok encountered a species like humans, beings whose very survival depended on their ability to endure pain, to be wounded, and continue fighting. Remarkable, Javok whispered. Simply remarkable. Outside the viewport, the stars streaked by as the ship carried them home, humans and Vorzak together, each forever changed by their encounter with the other.